Hedwig Herbarium presents Fairy Tale Shadows, the Psychology of Folklore, featuring Rapunzel. Also profiling the witch Gothel. The story of Rapunzel is often reduced to a romance, but at its core, it's a psychological study of isolation, developmental arrested growth, and the toxic dynamics of devouring motherhood.
A husband and wife live next to a high-walled garden owned by a powerful sorceress, Dame Gothel. While pregnant, the wife develops a lethal obsession with a plant in the garden called Rapunzel, a type of salad green called rampion. She tells her husband she will die if she doesn't eat it. Out of desperation, the husband steals the greens twice, but on the second night he is caught by Gothel. Gothel allows him to take as much as he wants, but with a terrifying price. He must give her the child once it is born. Terrified, the man agrees. When the baby girl arrives, Gothel takes her, names her Rapunzel, and raises her. When Rapunzel turns 12, Gothel locks her in a doorless tower deep in the woods to protect her beauty. The only way to enter is for Rapunzel to wind her 20-yard-long golden hair around a window hook and let it fall. Gothel would then call out the famous line, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." A prince hears Rapunzel singing and eventually learns how to enter. The two fall in love and secretly marry. They plan an escape. Every time he visits, he brings a strand of silk, which she is weaving into a ladder. Rapunzel accidentally reveals the secret. In the 1812 version, she mentions her clothes are getting tight due to pregnancy. In later versions, she asks why Gothel is heavier to pull up than the prince. Enraged, Gothel chops off Rapunzel's hair and exiles her to a barren wasteland. Gothel waits for the prince, using the severed hair to lure him up. When he finds the witch instead of his bride, he leaps from the tower in despair. He survives the fall, but thorns pierce his eyes, leaving him blind. For years he wanders the world until he reaches the wasteland where Rapunzel lives. Upon hearing her voice, they reunite. Her tears of joy fall into his eyes, magically restoring his sight. He leads her back to his kingdom to live happily ever after.
Most people see the tower as a prison and a potential tomb. Psychologically, it's a delayed womb. The story of Rapunzel explores the devouring mother archetype and the eternal child syndrome. It's a story about the necessity of breaking a toxic bond to achieve adulthood. Gothel, the devouring mother. Instead of a simple villain, Gothel can be seen through the lens of narcissistic enmeshment. She purchases a child for the price of a vegetable, rampion, Rapunzel. This establishes the child as an object of consumption or possession, not a person. The tower isn't just to keep Rapunzel in, it's to keep the world out. Gothel projects her own cynicism and fear of the world onto the child to ensure Rapunzel never seeks independence. Gothel represents the shadow of protection, where care becomes control and love becomes a literal cage. You think I am the thief? No, my flower. The world is the thief. I didn't steal you. I rescued you from a father who traded your soul for a handful of salad. That is what men call love. They trade the priceless for the petty. But I built you a sanctuary. I gave you the height to see the stars without the filth of the earth clinging to your hem. They call this a tower, I call it a mirror. In here you are perfect. In here you are mine. Outside you are a meal. You are a target. You are a thing to be plucked and discarded once your petals begin to wilt. Do you think that boy, that prince, sees you? He sees a prize in a cage. He sees the climb, the thrill, the golden ladder. He doesn't know the weight of this hair. He doesn't know the silence of the nights I spent keeping the shadows at bay so you could sleep in innocence. I have kept you small so you would never have to feel the pain of being broken. I have kept you blind so you would never have to see how ugly the world becomes when the sun goes down. If you leave this room, Rapunzel, you aren't finding yourself, you are dying, because I am the only thing that makes you real. Without me, you are just a girl in the desert, waiting for the wind to blow you away. Stay, sing for me. Let the world stay down there in the dirt where it belongs. Rapunzel, the infantilized identity. Considering the psychological impact of growing up without a mirror other than the projection from her captor, Rapunzel's learned helplessness reveals how she suffers from infantilization. She doesn't realise that she has the agency to leave because her identity is tied entirely to Gothel's presence. Her hair is her only connection to the world, but it's used as a ladder for her oppressor. It represents her strength, but also her burden. The shadow of innocence. Her purity is actually a lack of experience. When she finally meets the prince, her betrayal of Gothel is often accidental. In some versions, she mentions her clothes getting tight due to pregnancy, showing how nature eventually forces the hand of psychological growth. She called it protection. She told me the walls were built to keep the world out, but all they ever did was keep my soul in. Every morning I would wake up and the air felt heavy. It wasn't just the smell of old stone and cooking herbs. It was the weight of her love. It was a thick, sweet syrup that filled my lungs until I couldn't draw a clean breath. She'd stroke my hair and tell me how fragile I was, how the world would break me, and with every word the room felt smaller, the ceiling felt lower. I wasn't living in a sanctuary, I was living in a bell jar. I was a specimen, preserved for her viewing, pinned down by the very braids she used to climb. That hair, it wasn't a ladder to me, it was a leash. Every time she called, "Rapunzel, let down your hair," I felt the snap of the collar. In that tower, silence wasn't peace, it was suffocation. The lack of a door wasn't safety, it was a tomb. She said the desert would kill me. She said the sun would burn and the wind would bite. And it does. It's hard here. The sand is coarse and the water is scarce. But for the first time in my life, when I open my mouth to speak, the air actually reaches my chest. I am sunburnt, I am scarred, and I am free. I would rather choke on the dust of the wilderness than spend one more day breathing the stagnant air of her protection. The names. The witch is most commonly known as Dame Gothel or Mother Gothel in the Brothers Grimm version, which holds deep psychological and cultural significance. In archaic German, the word Gothel actually translates to foster mother. By giving the witch this title, the story creates a dark irony. A foster mother is supposed to be a spiritual guardian who guides a child toward adulthood. Instead, Dame Gothel uses her role to stunt Rapunzel's growth and keep her from the world. She is the inverse mother. A witch is an outsider, a monster in the woods, but a dame or mother is an authority figure inside the family structure. This makes her shadow much more dangerous because it's disguised as familial care and respectability. In German, Rapunzel is the common name for rampion, scientifically Campanula rapunculus. It was a very popular garden vegetable in the 18th and 19th centuries, but it's largely fallen out of fashion today. While the leaves were used in salads like spinach, the real prize was the white, crunchy root. It produces beautiful, delicate purple or blue bell-shaped flowers. Rapunzel's name comes from the Latin rapunculus, meaning little turnip. In the older Italian version of the story, Petrocinella, the plant was actually parsley. The Brothers Grimm changed it to Rapunzel because it sounded more exotic and rare in their region, which heightened the sense of forbidden desire. Other symbols of note in Rapunzel: the desert, the dark night of the soul. After the tower, Rapunzel must survive in the wilderness, representing the harsh but necessary transition to self-reliance. The blind prince, the loss of vision or direction. He must learn to feel his way to her, moving from superficial attraction to deep endured connection. The severed hair, the breaking of the umbilical cord, the end of the enmeshed relationship. The story ends only when Rapunzel and the prince find each other in the wilderness, away from the tower. True maturity requires the death of the childhood version of ourselves and the painful severing of parental ties that may have become restrictive. Stay tuned, there's more coming soon. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe for more. Blessed be.